In the 2022 Division III National Championship game, RIT put on a masterclass in how to use two separate defensive strategies to stifle a high-powered offense. After playing man-to-man midway through the second quarter, they fell to a 7-2 deficit. They even gave up 20 shots to Union in the first quarter. Now, they started to toy with this zone that we're going to talk about in the second quarter, but they went full zone in the third and shut them out completely. Now, after trailing 7-2 in the second, they ended up winning the game 12-10. Now, in this video, that's what we're going to talk about, what zone they put in to stifle the Union Dutchmen and to ultimately win the Division III National Championship game. What's going on, everybody? I'm Patrick from POWLAX, where we create confident coaches because confident coaches create great environments for players. And in this video, we're going to be discussing RIT's house and one zone that they used to beat Union with in the Division III 2022 National Championship game. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and follow POWLAX on all of social media. And if you want to help contribute to the creation of these videos, head to POWLAX.com, where you can become a member for $5 a month and basically get access to my entire POWLAX playbook. So if we're at POWLAX.com and you go to the Master Coach section, we've got offenses, defenses, set plays, man up, man down. And if you go to any of these, you're going to be able to watch these videos for free, and it's actually going to have a playbook PDF that you can click on, download, print it out, put in your playbook, have it forever. Now, if you don't have access or you're not signed in, it's going to take you to this page. It's going to go over all of our memberships, right? You've got $5 a month. That gives you access to the entire POWLAX playbook. I want to say it's like 200 pages now. And then you've got the Silver Plus membership, which is essentially paying for the year and saving $10 per year. The Gold membership gives you access to Lacrosse Lab, which is a digital playbook that you can gain access to and then send to your team if your team has a Lacrosse Lab account as well. And finally, we have the Platinum membership. That's going to give you access to me for 1 hour per month, where we can discuss your team and specific things that you would like to do with your team. Now, let's get into the video. We're going to move through this video in the following way. First, we're going to do essentially a whiteboard session through the POWLAX digital playbook on Lacrosse Lab. Then we're going to go to score break to show you exactly what it looked like on the field as RIT beat Union in the 2022 Division III National Championship. So without further ado, let's get right into Lacrosse Lab. So if you have the POWLAX digital playbook and you want to follow along, you can go to defense, RIT house and one zone, and we're going to start with the RIT zone base. So the first thing we have to discuss as we talk about this is how I like to number the field, because it's going to help us communicate. I essentially put a phone pad keys on the field to let me know which location on the field I am talking about, and the kids really like this because as I talk to them, I'm not giving them an arbitrary number for where things are on the field. They can map the phone to the field. And so as I say, hey, we got to dodge from the 6, they can think about it for a second and know that we're going from the right wing. So it goes 1 top left, 2 top center, 3 top right, 4 side left, 5 is the crease, 6 is side right, 7 is back left, X is 8, and then 9 is back right. And so this is also going to correspond to the zones that we're going to fill. So as we look at this, we have a 5-player zone that creates our house. The LSM is in the 1, the M2 is in the 2 zone, D3 is in the 3, D6 is in the 6, and D4 is in the 4. Now, this 5th player, this short stick who is on the crease, that's going to be called the Tiger, and they are going to cover everything that is on the crease. Now, they are not going to be a part of any of the rotations. The Tiger is only going to cover the players who are on the crease or move to the crease. Now, the final thing I'm going to say is the most important part about this zone is where the long poles are. The long poles are going to take both sides, top and bottom. Now, the reason is because they can now press out to that really popular high wing dodge, so that as those are happening, we always have a pole in those players' hands. Now, if you've seen my How to Beat a Zone video, the way that I would attack this is I would always try to attack the shorty top center using rollbacks or the Duke fade and follow offense, which there's also videos and PDFs on. But that never happened in this game. Union didn't attack in that way, but I would definitely try to pick on the shorty top center if this is what was given to me. But so now let's kind of see this in a little bit different of a way. First, we have the 5 players on the perimeter that create our house, and then we have the Tiger on the crease who's going to cover the crease. Now, as we get into the rules and the ideas that we are going to play by, the first rule is as the ball is passed, we are going to rotate and have another player play the ball, right? So as the ball starts with M2 and he passes to M3, D3 is going to play the ball, M2 is going to spider back in. Now against a 3-1-2, this looks really easy because the 5 perimeter players for the offense match up with the 5 perimeter players for the defense. Now, if they are going to move to an open set or they move to a 2-3-1, that's where it's going to look a little bit different because there's no offensive player to match up top center against M2. Now, M2 is going to show towards top right as the offensive M2 has the ball, and as he passes over, he's going to shift in his zone over to make sure that if M1 sweeps across the top, he'll be there to defend them. Now, the other big key to this is we don't have a specific player that's going to go back to play X, right? So we're going to have to figure out how we want to play X. So my general rule is that we're going to want to play the player at X. Now, as the ball is swinging, if they're not really pressing, we don't have to go back to play him because they're not really into their motion. They're not really attacking. But once they start attacking, we're going to have to rotate someone down to them. So if they're just swinging the ball, we are going to want to just hold our position on the pipes, and then we'll just play the ball as it comes back up. But if he dodges, we're going to have to rotate to him at some point. Now, the other way we can play it is we can just automatically rotate every single time, but this is more of a 5-man rotation style of defense versus holding a house zone and then having to rotate afterwards, right? So if, as the ball is passed to X, D6 rotates down to the 8 position to play A2, we are automatically rotating the 3 down to the 6, the 2 to the 3, the 1 to the 2, and the 4 is going to end up having to come back up all the way to the 1. So we're just pre-rotating, which kind of gets rid of the idea of having that short stick top center and keeping our poles on the sides. Now, within the confines of the defense, if they make us rotate, we'll still play in the new zones after being rotated, but they will try to get back if there is a lull in the action. Now, as we think about pressing at X, another idea is if we're in our rotations, are we going to go and play the player who is at X? And for the most part, I think it's essential. You really do need to play the player at X because letting them feed is just not okay. Once we understand the idea of how we want to play the ball as it's being passed around the perimeter, the next thing we got to understand is how are we going to play carries or dodges? And the rule is once the offense tries to dodge from one zone to the other or carry from one zone to the other, we are going to pass that player to the defensive player in the new zone. So as the ball moves from M2 to M1, and then M1 is going to sweep across the top, we are going to pass, the LSM is going to pass M1 to M2. Now, once M2 and the LSM conjoin on M1 and they're both pulled to the edges of their zones, the other 3 players in the house are going to need to be ready to rotate to the perimeter 4 players that the offense has. So M1 draws 2. Now, D4, D6, and D3 need to be ready to rotate to actually the 5 offensive players, which is A2, A1, A3, M3, and M2. And so now, as this happens, once D3 has to rotate, everyone rotates, right? It's not we're going to wait and see who's next. Everyone just gets to that next zone, and then they settle back into their zone principles. So D3 goes to the 2, D6 goes to the 3, D4 goes to the 6, the LSM in the 1 goes to the 4, and M2 is going to end up in the 1. And so notice how they are going opposite the direction of the way the ball is moving. With that, we also need to have an understanding of how we are generally going to play the ball at X. And so this kind of goes contrary to as they're passing the ball. But basically, the whole idea is we want to read the play and know how we want to play it. So if the offense takes like a dummy dodge where M3 doesn't really dodge too hard, we can play the ball with the near side player if they have 2 players at X, right? So if A3 is still in D6's zone, so if D6 doesn't feel like M3 is dodging to be a threat, he doesn't have to really slide upfield to cause that rotation really quickly if we don't have to, right? We're just kind of playing it out and reading the situation. Now, if M3 decides he's going to turn the corner and D6 has to rotate, well, now we've got to rotate everybody, which means D4 has to get over, the LSM has to get down, M2 has to get down. And if M3 has a dummy dodge where D6 does end up playing A3, now he is then going to just play the ball at X, and we're going to eliminate the top 3 players from our house zone, and we're basically going to switch D6 from D4, right? So as the ball is passed down to A3 and D6 plays him, if A3 dodges to his left, D4 is just going to switch places with D6 so that they can maintain their low zones, and so we don't have to rotate the short stick up top to either of the top corners. So now those are a bit advanced tactics, but I really do like the idea of having the 2 low zones be interchangeable so we don't have to change the top 3. Now that we understand our ideas of how we're going to pass or how we're going to rotate, now we're going to talk about cutters or players who are popping off the crease. So we're going to show a traditional zone or man-up play, which is a 4-man wheel. And as these players run their wheel, the whole key is communication, right? The Tiger has to communicate to all the perimeter players, hey, we got a guy leaving, So you got to know the names. Like, hey, Sam, pick up, or Sam, I'm passing. And same for the perimeter players. If someone's cutting to the crease, they need to cover the player who is cutting to the crease the entire time until the Tiger picks them up and says, hey, I have them. It's not something where you're going to maintain the perimeter and leave a player open on the crease. You are going to cover them on the crease as they are moving to the crease until the Tiger picks up. And here's why. If they move from a 2-3-1 or a 3-1-2 to a 1-4-1, where they've got 5 perimeter players and then they have 4, if you stay on the perimeter, you're going to have 2 players outside defending 1 at some place, and someone's going to be open in the middle, which you don't want. So you want to go with the player who is moving to the middle to cover them, and then let the Tiger bump you back out. So as A1 pops off the crease, he's going to say, D3, you got a popper, and have him pick up. Now, as M1 cuts the middle here, he's got to say, like, Tiger got a cutter, and pass M1 off so that M1 or the Tiger can bump him back out to the perimeter of the field so we can be a part of that rotation. Now, the final thing we're going to cover on the Lacrosse Lab side is we're going to cover the carry step-off play that Union tried to run in the third quarter that they had, like, no success with, but it's a good play. Basically, they're going to start in a 3-1-2. They're going to carry from top left to the center, and they're going to pop A2 off. Now, as they do this, they overload the perimeter of the field and put 6 outside with only 5 inside. Now, the key here is just to read the play and rotate when you have to and try to show and get back if you don't. So, ball goes to M1. He carries to the center. We pop A2 off of the crease. Now we have no one inside being defended by the Tiger. Now, as the ball starts to move and D3 rotates, everybody rotates quickly, and they pick up as the ball moves. And now we are basically into an open set versus our house zone with no one kind of in the middle. And we're just going to play this out like this. If they draw and make us rotate, the rotations are a lot shorter because there's 6 people on the perimeter. And that's just how we are going to play that. So now we're going to head to score break where we are going to watch some live footage. So the first thing that we're going to show live is what the zone looks like in person. We've got RIT in white and we've got Union in black. Now, so to create our house and 1 Tiger zone, we are going to have a pole in the 1 zone, a shorty in the 2, a pole in the 3, a pole in the 6, and a pole in the 4, and they are going to make up our house, and they are going to be the ones who are going to be rotating. So all of these 5 are connected. Next, we've got the Tiger in the 5 zone, and he's going to be the one picking up players who are coming to the crease from the backside, as well as telling the perimeter players when any players pop off of the crease to the perimeter. So we're just going to run through this clip really quick, and then we'll talk through some of the rules. So notice this player being passed off. We're now looking into our rotation. They do pass the ball back here, but we would have had to rotate with an extra pass. We get a nice alley dodge. We're playing the ball with the near side defenseman. This is actually the 3 zone playing it low. Ball's passed back. Now we're into a rotation. And so then this player dodges, tries to get a good shot off, gets a nice trail check, and we make a good save. So let's go over a couple of these rules. First off, the player being defended by the player on the crease lets this player go out to the perimeter and must communicate it with the players who are here. Also, check this player who's pointing the tiger in, letting him know, hey, let's make sure we have this backside covered up. Now, in terms of how we're going to play the ball at X, this original dodge seems to be like a dummy dodge. It's also something where if we've got a pole on ball, we probably aren't going to want to switch poles to give a player an opportunity to step into a gap and make a pass between the poles. We're just going to play him with the one pole all the way down. Now, you'll notice that the near side 4 zone is going to move out to play the ball at X. The backside 6 zone is going to move into the middle to play the cutters who are coming into the middle of the field. Now, that leaves the 3 zone here, who is eventually going to get out to the ball on the opposite wing as the ball is passed to X and then up to the wing. And so the key to all this is understanding the reads and understanding what's going to happen. Now, once the ball hit this wing over here, the 4 zone is going to go back to where they were. And then the 6 zone is also going to come back in once the tiger bumps him out. And so now, as they float this player off the crease, who is once again defended by the tiger, now we get into a position where the 6 plays it behind. The 3 plays it really, really low, almost GLE. And now we've got to rotate the 2 to the 3. The 1 is going to come up to the 2, and then the 4 is going to come all the way up to the 1. Now that's the most simplistic idea of how the rotation works. So now let's watch a couple more. The next thing we're going to talk about is getting into position, right? So as players come in, they're not just going to be in their zones. They're going to have to move and get into position. And one of the things that does is it makes it so that the offense can have opportunities, because there's going to be some odd motion as defensive players are kind of leaving their posts or leaving the ball in order to go find their zones. You see all the players running in to find their locations. The 1 zone is actually pretty far. Now, once he gets back into position, now we have our zones, right? We've got the 6 connected to the 3, 2, 1, 4. And they're making up our house, and then we've got the tiger inside. Now, same idea in terms of how we're playing the ball at X. You'll notice that as the ball is at X, we're not really playing him there. Like, that's not necessarily the best thing, but the reason is because we're all getting into position. Now, as the ball hits here, if he comes this direction, now this player's got to go play him, and then we've got to have the 1 come down, and then now we're into our rotation. But he goes the other direction, so now the 6 goes down, the 3 goes down, and now we're rotating the other way. So right at the very beginning of this series, we're already rotated with the short stick in the 3 instead of in the 2. But we're still going to maintain those rules of playing the house on the perimeter. Now we've got a carry from top right to top center. And now we're going to pass and slide that off. Now as the ball's passed back, we do a decent job of getting back, but we also rotate, and he takes a pretty decent shot, right? He hits the player in front of him, and we make a good save, and then we're going to get back out. Now, this is one of, I think, 3 goals against. This is the first goal against that they had after RIT came back from down 7-2, right? So they scored 8 unanswered goals to come back from 7-2 to 7-10. So now, as we're trying to play the ball, make sure they're not getting anything early, we get into position. We're not really playing the guys at X. They throw it to the wing. We don't get there in time, and it's just, really nice, opportune offense for Union because we were getting into position and they just weren't ready. Now, the next one we're going to show is, kind of how we play backside cuts, pops off the crease. And so as this dodge goes down the alley and rolls back, we're going to get a nice pass, right? So as he comes up to top center, he's going to pass the ball off to the 2 zone, and now we throw the ball forward. Now we're already into our rotation. So let's go back a couple of frames. Once the ball is thrown forward, the 3 goes to the 2, the 6 goes to the 3, the 4 is hauling all the way over, and now we're matched up on this side again, right? quick rotations as they're playing very fast. Same idea back the other way. Carry from the top right to top center. We're going to pass off the carry, throw forward, and now we're rotating back, and now we're right back into position, and they take a decent shot, but they miss. Next is playing pops off the crease. This is a lot like the first video we showed where we played down at X with the 6 zone, and then the ball got thrown to a low 3. And so as the ball hits top right, he kind of dodges down the alley, and we pop this player off the crease. Now, as he pops off the crease, the perimeter players have to know. So as the ball is thrown back, we've got the 2 going to the 3, the 1 going to the 2, the 4 coming up to the 1, the 6 going to the 4, and the original player in the 3 is dropping down to the 6, and that's what makes our house. So good offense, made us rotate, but it was faster than they could move the ball. Now this next one is kind of what I mentioned in terms of attacking top center. It's how I would attack this zone. And one of the things that I wouldn't do is start the ball top center. I would definitely try to sweep into it like that Duke's fade and follow offense, which mirrors the Cuse motion offense, because I think basically carrying its speed in that sweep and then rolling back is more valuable and gives you more time to read the field than it does how they're going to do it, where they're basically going to dodge directly downfield, pop a player off the crease behind him, and then throw the ball to rotate. But you'll notice RIT does a great job of snuffing this out and getting into hands extremely easily and early, right? So now they kind of move again. They draw again to put the short stick back top center, and now they're going to run the exact same play, whereas they dodge so straight north-south down the middle and pop somebody off that's right behind them. It's so easy for the 3 zone to see the throwback that he's already in his hands once the ball is thrown back and they get the ball. So good goose here to maintain possession for Union, and now we are rotated with the short stick in the 1, but it's not going to help. Here is where it can get a little dicey, though, if you have specific players that are in specific positions. Here we have the original 3 zone in the 4, the original 4 in the 6, and you have the 2 shorty in the 1 position. Or sorry, that was the 4 in the 1. Either way, they're rotated 1 position. And now you've got 2 players to the ball really quickly and easily. They throw and they kind of bungee back, but you definitely don't want to have 2 players going to the ball at once. The other thing I want to talk about here is how they're going to rotate the players at X. So once he bungees back to get the ball carrier at X, notice how the backside zone that was pre-rotated, right? So as he comes up, this guy's got to come over. Now, once he comes over, if this player gets back, now he's got to cover the crease. And so once he goes back, he decides to cover inside, cover the crease, and now they play the ball through X. They don't take a very good shot, but those rules should make sense there. So now in this last video, we're going to talk through some of the rules and how they're playing it, but ultimately we're going to talk through how, as Union ends up taking a shot near the end of this video, we're going to want to get back into our positions instead of staying in the zones after having rotated. So a shot goes, you'll notice all the players are like, hey, get back into your spots. Make sure we find our spots. Let's make sure we set up in that shape with our poles on the sides, our shorties in the middle, and so that we are, playing as effectively as we can. But so if we roll back to the front, so the first thing that we have is we're going to get a carry from top right to top center with a nice little pick here. He immediately goes to play the ball, which causes a rotation. So the 1 is coming to the 2, the 4 is now coming to the 1, and the 6 is now coming to the 4, which means the 3 has to come down to the 6. This was definitely open for a second. But so now as he dodges, pass, we're just playing it in the 4 zone now. Swing to the backside. This was a really good job by the original 2 shorty to be kind of the 3 zone to play the ball on that far wing. And then as he tries his dodges, we get a nice good ball reversal back the other way. And now here is where, as the ball went from one side to the other and we kind of showed too many guys over, this player ends up playing the ball on the swing because he's playing in that backside low position that's going to come in to help the crease. And now they were pretty lucky to get this extra rotation because they had way too many players ball side on that swing, right? They just had one too many players there. But so we're going to definitely get back into our shape. And that kind of wraps up all of our rules for the RIT House and One Tiger Zone. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys thought down in the comment section. One other thing that I'll note to this is that this is like one aspect of a, defensive strategy for a high school and collegiate team, right? I don't think you might want to run this all the time. I think RIT ran it a lot. But the thing that really messed up Union in this game was the fact that they had so many shots in that second quarter before RIT went into this, that the change of pace didn't really allow them to get used to the defensive strategy that RIT was using, and it just totally stifled them, right? Like, they went from up 7-2 to down 10-7 in the matter of, 2 quarters, and so it definitely threw a big wrench in their plan, and it was a masterclass in how you want to change the tempo of a game if you are ever down. But so definitely let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Make sure to like and share this video with any coaches who you think might think it's valuable. If you want to get the playbook PDF for your playbook, you can do that at POWLAX.com by becoming a member for $5 a month. Make sure to follow POWLAX on Instagram and all of social media. Have a good one, and I will see you guys in the next video.